A word of warning. Today we're chatting about the Legend of Vox Machina, and things are bound to get a little saucy. Make sure you've watched through Season 2, Episode 3. I'm sure we'll talk about Season 1 to a certain extent as well, but you should watch that before you watch Season 2.
Welcome to Words and Whiskey Short Pours, a mostly monthly podcast where we have a fun time discussing fictional worlds and the people that create them, all while boozing just a little bit. My name is Kross, and today I'm joined by PJ and a gaggle of guests as we are about to embark and chat about the mythical, magical, and the mighty Vox Machina.
Yay!
Yeah. It's your part, PJ. You gotta go.
No, I wasn't reading.
Yay! Sorry, I think there's a lag.
So today we are joined with our party members and our friends. We all collectively host a podcast and a live play D&D game called Catacomb Party's The Tales of Kana.
Yeah.
Tales of Kana.
Yeah.
So, and we're here to talk about the newly released Season 2 of Critical Role's The Legend of Vox Machina, presented by Mr. Baby Bezos.
The one and the
Thanks,
only.
Daddy Baby Bezos.
Thanks for picking it up, picking it up and running with it. We're really appreciative. Somebody had to. So I guess
It's
happy
a nasty
for
job,
you.
but someone's got to do it.
That is kind of the name of the game. Yeah, so why don't we go around? For people who don't know, I mean, we've had Mathar on the show before. We haven't had Leslie or Josh on. And for people who haven't listened to Tales of Kana, maybe just like a brief introduction, who you are, what you like. And maybe this is where we'll just stick in experience with Critical Role and The Legend of Vox Machina. Makes a good enough sense.
Yeah.
Well, I came up with the idea for Critical Role back in like 2012 at least. I mean, that was before the show,
Still
right?
waiting
I
on
just
those royalties.
trying to
Still
stake my
waiting.
claim now so that later when I make a case for it, it'll be like, I've been saying this for years. Pity
Excellent.
laughs.
Pity laughs. And who are you, dear Mathar?
Dear
I'm
random
just kidding.
voice.
Dear random voice in our
Hi,
ears.
I'm Mathar. I'm the DM for Catacomb Party. I run the Tales of Kana, at least this campaign. I may not always, but for now, I am in the hot seat coming up with all the lore. And boy, do I come up with a lot of lore. What else do I say about myself, Crosslin?
Boy, do we shit on it sometimes.
I'm a podcast producer by trade, and my experience with Critical Role is in hearing Josh talk about it. Basically, just the overwhelming, it's impossible to ignore if you're in the tabletop role-playing game space at all. It's impossible to ignore their influence. I have read through their source books, used material in my own games, and as they're part of the zeitgeist, so I've absorbed that. But as far as the show itself, I've watched a few one-shots. I've watched the live thing they did with the search for Grog. I had no context for that, but thought it was really cool. And I tried to get into season 3. I was like, this is it. This is my point. Getting into campaign 3. And I made it like an episode and a half in and I fell off. I just can't do the runtime. But I watched season 1 of Legend of Vox Machina, and it was one of my favorite things I watched last year. So I know it's good. I just can't hang with it.
Yeah, that's great. That's part of the reason that we love this. So, it's a great entry point, I think, for a lot
That
of
is
people.
going to be
And I
my
think that's part of the
perspective
reason they do
for
it.
sure. So I'm coming at it all fresh. I mean, everything to me is for the first time. I really don't know what happens in the first campaign. It hasn't been spoiled. So when I watched the first season, I was like, wow, I can't believe I could see the hallmarks, but I was like, I can't believe that they turned their campaign into this amazing piece of art. It's so wonderful and so condensed, I'm sure. Yeah, super rad. And I'm really excited to be here.
Dope. Let's kick it to Leslie.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Leslie, and I am a player in Catacomb Party's Tales of Kana. I've been playing D&D for about 5 or 6 years at home, and then was very honored to join this campaign. And very honored to be recording this lovely little thing with
We
lovely
are
little
the honored
people.
ones.
So it's very exciting.
honor
My
us with your
experience with Critical Role, we keep talking about the infamous Josh. He will be introduced shortly, but he introduced me to Critical Role as well as my older brother who got me into Dungeons and Dragons initially. And I've just seen whatever episode Josh has been watching on Twitch. So very sporadic. He got into it in campaign 2, so that's where I started like hopping in and watching everything. So I'm going in completely blind to campaign 1, or rather, I'm going in completely blind to Legend of Vox Machina, besides what Josh has told me and what I've seen on the internet, like old clips of like characters having moments and stuff. Really cool. So very excited to see what unfolds. I'm like, wow, there's dragons in this? So cool. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2.
It's a pretty safe assumption, but I was
Pretty
still
safe
surprised.
assumption.
Right. It's like, this is Dungeons and Dragons after
There
all.
is
It
no
feels a
guarantee,
little
right?
bit-
Yeah.
You
Right,
never
it's
know.
very
It
true.
takes a while to see dragons in campaigns sometimes. So
That's good point. And I guess
they're really
they did
just
start on
hitting it off, yeah.
Pathfinder. Yeah.
that's true. I
Little
did
plug.
see
If you're
That's good.
interested in dragons and campaigns and you don't want to wait a long time to see them, check out The Tales of Kana by Catacomb Party.
Yes, I definitely, it's not as though we're not going to be pitching that constantly throughout this entire thing. We hang out every other week and do this, and we release episodes roughly every other week or so of, I love Critical Role dearly, but I love our little show so much more.
You heard it here first. Guaranteed experiences with dragons from episode 1 of
Look, if there's one thing I know
Kinda.
about
Technically
Catacomb
true.
Party's Tales of Kana, 100% of every single person in the world will agree it's better than Critical Role. I mean, that's just,
Proven fact.
That's for sure.
Survey says.
that's a fact.
Fact. Let's kick it to Josh. Josh, introduce yourself. You've already
Say
been
words.
here, but say words.
I'm Josh Ramsey. I am the one and only Josh that was mentioned multiple times already. I'm super into Critical Role. I started on right around whenever they started campaign 2, watched all of that, went back, watched almost all of campaign 1. I'm like 6 episodes from the finale, and then I'm all caught up on campaign 3. I've kept up with all the one-shots. I own a lot of merch. Yeah, and I've watched season 1 of Legend of Vox Machina like 4 times because it's great. And I'm also in that show, Tales of Kana. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I honestly, like, you guys, Kross, PJ, you're lucky I like you, because like waiting an extra day after these dropped was rough on me. Like, I'm an obsessive person, and I'm obsessed with Critical Role.
I
So
thought
it
about
was
that
hard.
last night. I was like, whoa, Josh isn't watching this on release
No.
day. Like,
I should be-
it blew my mind to think
I
about.
should be on my 3rd watch right now.
Yeah, you really should. I know Josh
you're
very
scratching.
well, and I was just, it occurred to me in the middle, like, I didn't care at all, because I hardly ever watch things like when they drop. So like, it was nothing for me, but then it was like, oh shit, this is not Josh's MO.
No, I'm a midnight release kind of guy. You know?
Yeah, this says a lot about how excited Josh is to be here.
Yeah.
So wait, it occurs to me that we don't really need to watch it now. Like, we could it might be a more interesting show to have Josh give us his
Yeah, I'll just tell you what's
predictions
gonna
for like
happen.
what's in, right? Here's what they're going to keep in. Here's how they're going to do it. Walk
Well,
us
I
through
think
the first 3 episodes, and then we'll compare.
I think if anyone's going to make those predictions, it would be PJ, because PJ, how many times did you say you've seen all of campaign 1? Which is more hours than all of Naruto, by the way.
Probably One Piece as well. Like,
Yeah, I think
I
combined.
I have. So I said watched, but for the most part, I didn't watch campaign 1. But
It's like
I,
people who are
I would
like,
listen
you
to it.
didn't read, that's an audiobook. No, you still read it. It's fine.
Yeah, but I have listened through it entirely, I believe 3 times.
Lot.
I've done campaign 2 twice,
Yeah.
and I have not yet caught up on campaign 3. I'm still like 15 episodes back.
Are you one of those
I
people
know.
that like waits until it all comes out and then you like binge it 3 times? Like, is that
No,
weird?
I was really like, I loved watching them live. It's just, I'm the old man that shakes his fist at the cloud, I guess, when it comes to the changes in the structure and the way that they've been
Oh, good. We need one of those.
doing things. So
Old man yells at cloud. I just checked, and it's 447 hours. The runtime
So-
of campaign 1.
Just
but I
campaign
also
1.
listened to it at 2x.
Okay.
Nice.
So,
Okay, nice.
so it's like
So
half of
only
that.
600 hours.
So
Don't
yeah,
worry.
only
about it.
600 hours of
700
listening to
hours.
campaign 1 specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. part of the reason that like I haven't gone back and watched it is because I look at that hour count and I just flinch at all of the other things that I could be doing, listening to or otherwise, when I can read a wiki to absorb it if it's not going to be to the same quality standard. So that's like my experience with it has been like, I'm just going to take the high notes in that I need for campaign 2 and 3, enjoy campaign 2 slowly over a couple of years, and basically keep up with campaign 3. I'm a couple of episodes behind still, but
That's what I love about this show, though. I mean, like I have friends who have been trying to get into Critical Role for like 5 years that I play D&D with, and they like refused. They would not do it. Maybe they'd watch like half of an episode I'd show them or something, trying to get them into it, and they'd be like, "It's just not for me." And after season 1 of Legend of Vox Machina, both of these specific friends I'm referring to are completely caught up on campaign 3, making their way through campaign 1. One of them's almost caught up to me in campaign 1. Like, and that's all within like the last year. So this show is great because it removes the barrier of entry a little bit. And if you just don't have the time commitment or you just don't like that long form, just wait for the show, man. You'll still get the story.
That's what I'm all about. I'm like, let me pump this up because I want to see what happens, but I'm never going to do it. Like, if I make it through campaign 2, it'll be like on my deathbed, right? Like,
I am terrible at horror games. I'm terrified. I'm a little baby. I'm so happy I get to watch The Last of Us now because like I was never going to play.
Oh my God, dude. That's a whole nother podcast, man.
yeah, true.
next
But
time
that's a great
on Woods
connection.
and Whiskey Short Pours.
Yes, The Last of Us.
Yeah. No, we're super excited. So thanks for a little bit of background for introducing ourselves. Just to kind of outlay the plan for this, I think our plan basically is to try to cover these weekly and release the episodes effectively weekly, talking about them as often as possible with as many of you as we can. I know that I think we're going to lose PJ for 1 week because of a travel trip. Maybe not. We'll see if we can make that work. And whatnot. So schedule allowing, we'll do what we can to get these out basically the week following to cover them. And the other,
if we could record on Fridays, so I don't have to.
well, we could record in theory on the off Thursdays or the Friday or Saturday. Oh, actually, you've got date night, Nathar, so that doesn't work. We can figure out
Got
a
a
different
date
time.
night coming up.
I just don't
you
want to
got
wait
date
to
night
watch
every
the
other
episodes
Thursday.
because I'm impatient.
No, I feel it. I feel that. I feel that.
It's like 12 hours after it comes out.
12 hours is a
It's okay.
lifetime on the
Twitter
internet.
conversation.
Saturday morning.
He said
You're
he
right.
doesn't wanna.
I don't wanna, Leslie.
Stumps my feet. I don't wanna. Yeah, I
Doesn't
Uh,
wanna.
So basically our unique kind of show that we're going to do, and we'll see if we stick with it throughout the entire format to the point of like, maybe it doesn't work and we watch them at different times and then we come back and talk about them. We'll figure it out. But for this one at the very least, and likely the ones going forward, we're basically going to be watching the episodes one at a time and having an immediate fresh take right afterwards. So basically we'll transition to music. We're going to go watch it and then we'll transition back. And you won't be the wiser of the 20 minutes that we spent watching the episode, but we'll basically just jump into it with a summary. And yeah, it's basically the idea. Fresh takes, immediate, very little prep. You know, it's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, I'm bad at remembering details, so let's see what happens.
You will know. We'll sound significantly older,
Yep.
wiser.
We come back, we're all crying. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? What happened?
You're about to hear 5 people go through a life-changing experience. We are about to forge a bond that will be unbroken
By
to
time
the
and
end of
space.
time.
Everybody has
By
your
time and
extra
space.
large tabs of acid at the ready.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're all
Yep.
dropping
Yep.
some Quaaludes and then we're just diving in.
Whoa, was I not supposed to get baked
I mean-
out of my mind for this?
We will be progressively drinking throughout this, I assume.
It's
Right?
true.
We haven't talked
That's
about
true.
what
Yes.
we're drinking.
Oh, should we
Yes,
say
that
that's
is
before
exactly
or
Leslie.
after?
Lovely transition.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
That's me.
And
Nailed
before we
it.
go too much further, you know, all told, what are we drinking today? PJ, I'll have you start as an example for everyone else, since not everyone has been on the show before, and Mathar hasn't been on for like a year or something like that, so they could probably use a refresher.
So I did not make a cocktail, so this is.
Wow, you're not helpful.
But I have hazy IPA from Fair State Brewing Company called Spirit Fowl. It is delicious, it's beautiful, and I love it. And it was originally like a one-off, and they have started doing it a little bit more regularly. But full disclosure, I am a member at that co-op, so I guess
There is a story.
there is a financial burdens. But pairing that, I have chili roasted pistachios.
Perfect. Oh, we're saying what
Snacks
we're pairing
ready.
now.
This is the strangest intro that PJ has ever done to this.
This
as
is
a
a
model.
brunch
It's okay
episode
if you're
right here.
nervous, PJ. It's okay.
All right. Seriously, though, if you like spicy nuts,
We're going to see some
Wonderful
scaling spicy
nuts.
nuts in a moment here.
chili roasted pistachios are very, very good.
I find all
Nice.
nuts spicy.
Cool. Well, the intro cocktail explanation, I'm having a drink that I'm calling the kitchen sink. I wanted to make an improved whiskey cocktail, basically, which is like lemon, maraschino, an absinthe rinse, a rye generally. And I was like, ooh, that's really good. And then I accidentally poured green chartreuse instead of maraschino. And so I was like, why don't I just do all of the cordials that I have and see how that goes at the ratios that they're supposed to be. And you know what? Throwing the kitchen sink in it was pretty damn good. It's very tasty. I swapped the lemon peel for orange just cuz. And yeah, it's great.
Amazing.
Highly recommend. I am following that up with a beer from Bill's Back Porch called Profusion 3. It's a hazy IPA with dolphin with laser beam eyes.
Hell
on it.
I
yeah.
like that.
I'm glad that
Yeah,
we're all hazy
wild.
IPA people. I like that.
I mean,
great.
I'm a West Coast guy.
Also,
but,
all
you know,
emo
whatever.
people. It's great.
Is there a correlation? We'll find out.
Probably. So I'll kick it to Mathar. What are you drinking this afternoon?
All right. So I started off this morning really craving a Bloody Mary. And I said, I am going to dive into my cocktail codex from Death & Co. And I am going to get the ingredients for their Bloody Mary mix. And I think it's Normandy Club's Bloody Mary mix, which is another place they own. And I'm going to do it from scratch. And I'm going to really just savor myself, a glass of Bloody Mary and use up the rest of my Tito's. That did not pan out. So because of time. So then I said, well, I'm going to go get Bloody Mary mix. And I went, and the place I went doesn't stock it anymore. So then I went to another place and they don't have it either. So I came home and said, what can I make with what I got? Kind of a kitchen sink situation. I saw a bottle of Campari and I thought maybe like a bicicletta, like some sort of like very fresh, brunchy kind of seltzer and Campari. And so I threw in an ounce of Campari with an ounce of that vodka I mentioned. Also fresh squeezed clementines with a little bit of grenadine and topped it with seltzer. And it is so bad that I am going to switch to this Stone Hazy IPA because I can't do it.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
That was a roller coaster. Oh
That
my
was a
God.
wild
It
ride.
is so
A
bad, y'all.
wild
I don't know if
ride.
y'all saw me trying to take a sip of it during that intro, but it is so bad. I even put it in my beautiful Kindred mug.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I got a beautiful mug here from San Diego.
I wish they still had that
and
one.
it retained no parts of the ingredients that I really, really like. It retained none of its inherent value. It is less than the sum of its parts. It is so
Beautiful.
Wow.
So we had one kitchen sink work and the other one didn't. Okay.
no, big fail. Big fail.
So Stone Hazy.
Thank God
Nice.
for these hazies, which I have to tell you guys another little anecdote. When I picked these up this morning, I also forgot my ID. So as I was in the
No.
checkout, I said, shit, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to pay for those because I forgot my ID. The woman laughed in my face and said, give me your birthday. I am officially an old. Y'all. I turned 40 this year. That is the first time that has ever happened to me. And it kind of felt nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like,
Made
yeah.
it.
You know
I'm
what?
into
I can start yelling at kids to get off my lawn.
That's right.
Good
I can
times.
be old man yells at cloud.
Maybe it's a
Yes.
difference of location, but I had those experiences when I was like 19.
Well, you're also
Of
like
course,
12 feet tall.
yeah.
Yeah, you're also a giant. So
It wasn't that they thought you were old enough. It's just they didn't think they could stop you if they tried.
They knew better.
Just take it. I don't want it. Please. Don't hurt me.
Like, well, I'd rather
This
get
is gonna
paid
be
than
somebody
beat up,
else's
so, yeah,
problem.
sure.
I don't want a trip to the hospital.
Yeah.
But effectively, we had a kitchen sink and a garbage disposal.
Yes.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's right.
Leslie, what
So-
are you?
Josh, can you grab the bottle? I didn't see
Oh,
what
sure.
it was. I just poured it.
I have no idea, but it's one of these.
I don't know.
It tastes
I
good.
just trust him.
It is Murphy Good North Coast Sauvignon Blanc. We'll just cut that out and let you say
Murphy
it.
Good. Murphy Good. That's what you said?
Murphy Good West Coast Sauvignon
Good.
Blanc. Yeah.
Sorry, my
North Coast
Sorry.
Sauvignon Blanc.
I know we just said it 3 times, but I'm gonna write it down.
Murphy Good. That's Goode. North Coast
writing the other
Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh god.
She was writing Murphy
Blanc.
Coast Good Blanc.
I was drinking Good
I hate
Blanc.
that you can see me writing. I am so shit at writing. Okay.
I would
Murphy
love to
Good.
say
Okay,
with
so for
confidence
one
that
thing
we'll
you're
cut
shit
all
at.
of this out, but we recently released an episode where our guest coughed and then Crossland said, "Don't worry, we'll cut out all the coughs."
You didn't cut it.
No, what?
When I got that note back, I was like, I trusted you and you betrayed me.
How embarrassing. All right, so
Well, to be fair, I say I'll cut things all the time, and I have no intention of cutting them. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll just cut that out. No,
We totally
No
left one of
intention.
those in a recent episode of Catacomb Party.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes it fun. Makes it all right.
True.
So today I am drinking a very delicious Sauvignon Blanc. It's Murphy Good North Coast. It's the brand. It's light and crisp and dry, just how I like it.
Mm.
and that's where the sponsor,
Nice.
like the mid credits, like sponsor stinger drops in right there.
So go to your local
Murphy
store and pick up a
Good.
great bottle of Murphy
This
Good North
episode
Coast Sauvignon
brought
Blanc.
to you by Murphy Coast Good
It's not
Blanc.
great. It's not great. It's good.
Murphy
Or something.
Good. Yeah.
It's not just great.
It's
Yeah,
good.
sure. Yeah.
It's not just great. It's
What about
good.
you, Josh?
So I, with the ingredients I had, made as close as I could. It's technically a what is it called? Hold up. It
Don't
is
worry, we'll cut
technically
it. We're not
a
prepared.
dirty. It's technically a dirty 50 martini because I didn't have Cana Lillet, but I tried to make a Vesper martini
Oh,
as a little reference to the town in which our campaign on Catacomb Party Tales of Kana takes place in season 1.
Check it out on
Excellent.
all major streaming platforms.
All major streaming platforms.
Down below in the YouTube comments.
I don't know
Short
when this
form D&D,
podcast
baby.
comes
Easy to
out,
watch.
but the finale's about to release or has just released, one of the two.
Yeah, you can listen.
this is
You can
coming out
binge a
next
whole
week.
season, and it
The
is
finale's
not
about to release.
400 hours.
No,
It is at most maybe 20. So
It's like 10.
With amazing
Go get it.
sound design by our lovely DM Methar.
hey,
With
Yes.
significant amounts of editing by Kross and some editing by PJ and myself.
And beautiful artwork by yours
And
truly.
Math art.
Yeah.
suffice it to
Yes.
say, we're a cool bunch. We got a lot of stuff
Yes.
going on. It's been very
So
fun.
the Vesper Martini, as invented and made famous by James Bond Casino Royale, named after a fictional character, Vesper.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep,
Excellent.
Are you
it's
a Bond
half
fan?
gin. Yeah.
Perfect.
I feel like that's the right
Perfect
answer to that
response.
question in
Yeah.
general.
Half gin, half vodka. Should be Cana Lillet, which also was funny because Cana.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And but I didn't have that, so it's just half Tito's, half Roku gin. I wanted it extra dirty, so it's got some olive juice in there. Just a rinse of dry vermouth with like a little bit left pooling at the bottom, and then a lemon twist and 2 pimento cherries. I mean, olives, not cherries.
Pimento cheese.
That would be disgusting.
Cheese cherries.
I gotta
Mm.
try
Got
it.
some pimento cheese.
Okay, that you should
Ew.
cut is just pimento cherries. And just every listener is like frantically like, what the fuck are these? They're Googling it. They're like, I've never heard of pimento cherries.
Yeah, I make them myself. I just pour some I put some cherries and then scoop that pimento
I
right
squeeze
on
the
in.
blue cheese
I
right
don't
in
even
it.
get fresh
That's the
pimentos,
same,
man.
right?
You just scoop them out of the olives and put them right into the cherries.
And then I just let them. I
Alright,
dump out the
alright.
olives, but I save the olive juice. I put the cherries back in it.
Well, technically, they're pimento chino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you got to do half a jar of olive juice, half a jar of maraschino liqueur. You shake that shit up and you
Yeah,
put the
dude.
cherries in there. With the
That's what we
And
call
what
the
else you'll get
Southern.
in Tales of Kana is 1,000 bits with no
so
payoff.
many bits.
Oh yeah, it's mostly bits. I hope you weren't.
It's not
showing
just
it for
dirty,
a story.
it's filthy.
Yeah. So this is a filthy Vesper, is what I'm calling it.
All right. Well, that is a great point for us to segue just into the general season summary of the show. PJ, we'll have you read that for everyone, and then we'll go to the first episode.
All right. This is where you're going to do all the really heavy sound design, right? Where you get like the womp sound.
Here, I'll just take care of it.
We could do the War of the Worlds sound beneath you, yeah.
It's just the ending theme of Avatar.
I don't know if that's exactly it, but it's close enough.
Sounds right.
Honestly, transition done.
Kross, at this rate, you might want to just call your brother and say sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I'm going to just meet you downtown.
I am not going to. This is way more important than you, bud. Okay.
After saving the realm from evil and destruction at the hands of the most terrifying power couple in Exandria, Vox Machina is faced with saving the world once again. This time from a sinister group of dragons known as the Chroma Conclave. Was that good enough?
Dun, dun, dun.
It sounded half movie guy and half Marge Simpson.
That's exactly what I was going for, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Very evocative. All right. Well, we will see you on the other side for episode 1. Well, we're back with episode 1, and I know that we all have a lot of reactions, but before we go too far, because I know how hard it is to turn the ship around once we start sailing in a direction, Josh, if you could read our summary, that'd be great.
Oh, God damn. I should have been ready for that. Here we go. Hold up. No, I'm ready. I got this. Should it also be like Marge Simpson movie guy? Or
Absolutely.
No, we'll just go full movie guy. Vox Machina. Yep, there we go. Vox Machina's victorious return home to Amon is cut short by the arrival of ancient dragons, the Chroma Conclave. Despite Vox Machina's best efforts, the dragons lay waste to the city, forcing the team to find a way to escape.
Hey,
that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
What do we think? Where are we at? How do we?
I misunderstood. I thought we were watching The Legend of Korra, and I don't think I'm allowed to watch things over TVPG. So this was, I was confused for the first half, but I figured out it wasn't right somewhere along the way.
It was the wrong elements. Like, you didn't get it right away.
I'm like, well, there's still 4 elements. They're just differenter.
I heard a dirty word in this podcast. My Bob doesn't allow me to listen to watch stuff that has those kinds of bad languages in them, and so I had to turn it off. But I'm going to do my best to keep up.
Wasn't it,
fuck,
Leslie?
oh shit.
Love you, Beth. No, the name of the game is like this episode I adored for many reasons. I truly didn't expect, and like again, my experience with it with Legend of Vox Machina, like I kind of know the bigger beats. I didn't realize to what extent the destruction of Amon was, and it is extensive and like absolutely bonkers for a fictional depiction. Like, I did not expect it to go on as long and as like crazy as it was.
It's the whole episode, essentially. Like, it's just the town being erased from the planet.
Yeah, I remember it doesn't even take that long in game, and like combat takes forever in a game. But I remember watching it, like Matt's just kind of like, yeah, and then he blows up the cloud top, and they're like, which part? He's like, the cloud top. Oh, cool. It was one of those moments where you see players be like, they've beat everything that's been thrown at them up to this point, and it's the one moment where you see like, should we run? Should we maybe not? Should we maybe not be here? Yes. And holy shit, I know we'll dive into more specifics, but I have always I like fire breathing dragons, right? Always loved. The mechanic is cool in D&D that there's like, these ones breathe fire, these ones are ice, these ones are acid, these ones are poison. But like visualizing it was always like, fire seemed really cool. All the other ones were like, eh. It was so sick to see them visualized so brutally. Like,
oh yeah,
my favorite being what always seemed like the the least brutal of the dragon attack types, which is ice. It like freezes you, you know? But the fact that they didn't just freeze, they like exploded inside of the ice. Like it was like just shards of ice through the, oh my God.
Horrible way to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, to that point, the first oh shit moment for me was when the king dies in that cloud of poison. I was like, I literally sat up and said, what the fuck?
While his wife and children watch.
Oh no.
I didn't mean to take it back. Take it back.
Brutal.
The one thing that's like a step down from the campaign itself, and I mean, like, I think it's pretty clear we're kind of spoilers for the campaign are basically the same as spoilers for the show, more or less. Like it's created by the same people. There are changes, obviously, but like you're gonna see the same things. The courtyard of their keep, where they face off with that white dragon, is so fucking brutal.
Yeah.
In the campaign, and they really kind of glanced over that a little bit.
They're really not pulling many punches, but I could understand pulling those ones because it's like 2 hours of combat where Matt just describes like civilians and children dying.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So I can imagine it being brutal, but part of the reason that this episode struck me as brutal is because all of the shots of the scenery being destroyed were houses. Like it was consistently like, here are all of the people's lives of whom are being obliterated in this moment. Not even just like focusing on people running in the streets, but here are miscellaneous buildings of people that are no doubt filled with people that have no idea what's going on, and they're just gone. And to me, like that was shocking. I can imagine like a scene like that happening in a courtyard like that can make maybe feel more intimate. But for me, this was kind of like watching a nuclear explosion go off and watching the houses dissolve.
I mean, the action like unfolds so just like immediately, right? And so without respite, right? You're just like just hit after blow after blow after blow.
Keep going. I'm just going to step away for a second.
It actually. Oh well, wait. This next question is for Josh. Well, I mean, Josh and PJ.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for Josh to get back, the other thing that is a little bit of a departure, you see right at the end that sort of crater and the volcanic looking like magma that's coming up from where Thordak is sitting. That develops over time in the show as that cloud top district is physically becoming Thordak's lair. So it happens very, very quickly here, almost instantly. But that's something that progresses. But maybe still, the destruction is amazing. Oh, of course, like it will progress.
So that brings up a really interesting question, PJ, because as someone who has not observed the first campaign, the beats of it, the play, the decisions on behalf of the characters, how much of this, I would say season 1 up till now, like how much of this show, especially we'll focus on this episode, how much of this is how it went down in the campaign? Like is all of this storytelling based on the decisions and the dice rolls of the campaign? Or did they kind of like...
It's hard to tell with this one because it's all of the combat and all of the running and everything just kind of mashed together. They spend probably 4 or 5 episodes. So probably close to 20 hours in Amman.
Yeah.
After the arrival of the dragons.
Also, an interesting point on there too, the show jumps from Whitestone directly to the Chroma Conclave arriving. There's some... I'm going to wait and say that again after my dog isn't barking. Jump straight from Whitestone to Amman, like right after the Briarwoods, right to the Chroma Conclave. But there's like a whole arc that is very important to certain characters' storylines later on down the road that happens in the middle. So I'm like, where are they going to put that? So if, in the most spoiler-free way I could say it's where only people that know the campaign would understand, but when are we going to meet Dr. Dranzel and when are we going to meet Kaylee? Because that didn't happen here, and that is incredibly important. So they are shuffling things from the campaign and changing little things. But I would say the overall spirit of it is very in line with their dice rolls and what they chose to do. Like every story beat that happened there did happen.
Yeah, like I wondered, like specifically, Grog attacks the dragon, axe breaks. Did Grog lose his axe like in the campaign? Did that happen, or was that just like a detail that they threw in?
They threw it in, but Grog does stop using his axe right about now as he switches over to Craven Edge. So
okay. So
That
they
makes
just
sense.
flavored that in a way where it's like consistent with the decision making. It
Even
was just a
some
fun
fun
opportunity.
stuff.
I'm sure it was just like a failed roll against the dragon.
Yes,
And they're like,
exactly.
oh, we could turn that into a fun reason for you to switch to a new
There's
weapon.
fun things like that as well. Like I do remember, I don't know if it was specifically in the dragon attack, but conversations where like they're clearly in like fancy clothes or like maybe at a bathhouse or something, and combat would break out immediately after that. And Pike would be like, oh, my AC's this. And Matt's like, when did you have time to don your armor? And then they'd kind of argue and Matt would be like, all right, fine, you're wearing it. So it was fun to see her like in her fancy clothes and then just magically wearing her armor. You know?
I'll have to watch it again. I did not pick up on that. That's great.
Yeah, just like it flashes gold and then she's wearing her armor and it's like, you know, the DM said fine.
Yeah, I actually really like that a lot.
I think something important for us too that don't really know the specific details is if something is really important, don't ruin it for us
Oh,
on the
of
other side
course.
of this. Okay. I just wanted to,
I
for
would
the three
say
of us.
a
But
fun
the broom.
tease. A fun
Yeah.
tease. So the broom's not an important thing. It's just a fun item of some sort that they get way later in the campaign from a guest character that's played by Chris Hardwick, and apparently none of them enjoyed that. It was like a completely different type of D&D that Chris Hardwick is used to playing, very like very jokey and not as like, oh, it's D&D. And like, so I was like, well, they're definitely not going to put his weird ass character in the show. How are they going to get the broom? So they just steal it from Gilmore's, and I'm sure it'll come up later. But one interesting point, a little tease that I'm only going to bring up because a perceptive eye who has no clue that this ever was a campaign still could have picked up on this. There were only 3 dragons at the end talking.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. I literally wrote down, like, wait, did they kill a dragon? And I didn't see it? Like, what happened?
No.
Did one of them
No.
take off searching for them? Like, I don't... It seemed like a very
So,
obvious
like,
choice.
Theory hour, right?
The acid one is Umbrasyl, played by Matt Mercer, and that's the one that was tasked with going after them. So that
From
Umbrasyl was
Thordak,
there.
so it
Black
was in
Dragon
the
was there. So yeah,
Final 3 that flew off. The Rysegal, right? Yeah, Rysegal's missing. Raishan, sorry. Yeah. Rysegal is the brand new dragon in the new World of Warcraft expansion. Don't ask why I remember that all of a sudden. I just did. So Raishan, I'm okay. So like there's this part of me that like I don't know I know the high level details again of campaign 1. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you guys were all suspicious of this, the rest of you of whom don't know, but that kid with the eyes that like made contact with Grog, I'm pretty sure that's Raishan. It's probably
say?
It's probably Raishan.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because he's like, whoa.
It's
With
gotta
the
be
Really
right.
vibrant green eyes.
Yeah.
Oh
With
my
the really
God.
vibrant green eyes.
I had to have gotten it right. That makes me
Dude.
feel good.
Vibrant
All
green
right.
eyes.
They spent a lot of time
Fucking yeah.
focusing on Raishan's eyes, even since
Oh,
campaign
yeah,
1.
yeah.
Mhm.
You're supposed to
Well,
be willing to get it
maybe
if you're
it's a
paying
hint.
really close attention. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, no, okay, I picked up on other things, but that makes so much sense. Well, I didn't connect it at the end. If I'd watched it a second time, I feel like I would have noticed it, but like, yeah, that's great. That's fucking
brutal,
fantastic.
fresh
I know we got to
reactions,
go because we have 2 more of these things to
No,
get
we
through
got
and
we want like
conversation.
25 minutes, so an episode is basically my book. So we're at 13. We're good.
Sweet. All right.
Well, wait,
Well, no, we got time.
I have one
Yeah.
more question that I want to
course.
ask. Very
Yeah.
important. They mentioned Marquette in this
Yep.
episode, and I guess I'm wondering, was Marquette actually, did it exist in campaign 1?
Oh, yeah.
Or is this a detail? Really?
They go to Marquette
Matt
in
had
campaign 1.
Marquette that
That's-
far back.
That's where
Yeah.
Gilmore's from.
The Gilmore's from Marquette. They travel to Marquette a few times in campaign 1. Wildmount, which is campaign 2 setting, is
Oh.
mentioned frequently. They go to Wildmount very briefly. Yeah, Matt had a world. I mean, in the sense of like he had the ideas and the names, and then he fleshes out
Right.
the specifics as they go places. But it's impressive the scale, even in campaign 1, that was already presented.
Okay. I mean, I think that's really fascinating because I was thinking, like, if we weren't talking about this, I would have been thinking, oh, well, Marquette's the campaign 3 setting. So,
Sure is,
you know, they just added that back into the show now that they know it exists, you know.
Right. No, yeah. In fact, whenever
Kudos, Matt.
campaign 3 was announced to be in Marquette, a lot of people were like, oh, hell yeah, because we've only seen that one city in Marquette, you know, like, so.
Right.
Okay, so is the council like dead? There were so many rocks that fell on top of them, but we didn't totally see their dead bodies, so I don't know. That also makes me think of the part where Scanlan was like, oh, like, he's not the sovereign anymore, whatever. And I was like, yeah, fuck that guy. And then when he died, I was like, wait, no, not that guy.
Did they give the mage who protected the king's family and like the other council members, did they give that mage a name?
Yeah, so she's in the first season a decent amount. Yeah. That is Lady Allura Vysoren.
Okay.
Mm.
So yeah, Allura and Lady Kima, the like dwarf paladin, I believe, that like hits the wall, the lightning bolt goes up at the Black Dragon, played by Stephanie Beatrice. They're together, and it's cute.
Oh,
yeah. Nice.
I love queer relationships in media. Yay!
True.
Represent.
I have this note. I always take notes when I watch these for this reason, but like one of the things that hit me, there were two different moments. One is mostly a meme and I loved it, but the ballista shooting at the dragons and the dragons being like, what the fuck, this doesn't matter. Clearly a poke at Game of Thrones. It was beautiful. I loved it. Like, you can't kill a fucking dragon with a ballista. What the fuck is that shit?
So, but also, like, ballista are actually in the campaign.
Oh.
Only a little bit in this beginning part, but I think it's mentioned that it just has straight up no effect. But there's like a whole thing where like they try and do a montage to fix up trebuchets and ballistas later on. And then Matt like cuts them off before the montage starts, and they're all sad because they were like mid beginning a montage. And I really hope if they get to that scene in the show, if that's there, a montage does start and then get cut off. That would be very nice for me.
Excellent.
Hey, how far into campaign 1 does this all happen? Like, is this like 100 hours in, like
this
of a 400-hour campaign?
Around the late 30s, early 40s episode
numbers?
Really?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but I mean,
so they're covering a lot of ground.
Season 1, it starts like 27 episodes in. They skip like the first 27 episodes.
Oh, right. Those are the 4 times.
Yeah, we don't talk about those. A different party.
Google it.
Yeah, basically Matt Mercer is really into astrology. And so if you want to know more about that, just Google Critical Role Orion and you'll get everything you need to know about that.
Genius.
But shit's great. Should we make predictions?
Yes. I think this is a great spot for that. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to say, there were a couple of like nice rolls, right? So like the investigation rolls inside of Gilmore's shop, clearly, as they inspected around, and then like Scanlan kept getting beat by everyone else. Percy goes for that lance and clearly just doesn't make it in time with some kind of a reaction
lance.
check.
I wanted to reference the lance. They have that lance in the campaign, just no one's good with it, or like Percy has it or something, but like stat-wise it never makes sense to use, so they just kind of fucking don't. But it gets brought up a few times, like, don't you have that Lance of Dragon Slaying in the Bag of Holding? And he's like, yeah, but, you know.
But I'm a gun guy.
Maybe you can speak more to this because you've listened through more times. But
well, that gets kind of turned into a different thing.
Yeah.
But I expect
Spoilers.
kind of shows up this next episode. So,
all right, cool. Yeah, I just thought it was funny that he's like, Lance of Dragon Slaying, and then it just gets crushed, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, I just remembered something super cool from the episode. Can I talk about it really quick? Sweet. So the main dragon, what is his name? Yes, Thordak. I'm never going to remember that. When he did the huge fire beam that went straight through the palace across the ocean, that was super, super cool. Like, it was straight up like a hyper beam. The animation in this whole show is top notch and cannot be stopped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They made it very clear.
Hyper beam.
Yeah,
for sure.
They were no match for Jordash and his team of very angry dragons. So
just in the sense that I thought season 1 was incredible animation wise. Mm-hmm. I thought in season 1, the thing I always think whenever this is used, the combination of like 3D models into 2D was a little jarring at times. Not seamless in this episode, in my opinion. I've never been so sold on 3D models and then like the rotoscoping camera with 2D animation, all feeling collective and together and weighted and like grounded. It was incredible.
I think one of the earliest shows, well, not the earliest shows, but one show to really become like well known for their use of rotoscoping over 3D animation is Dragon Prince by Aaron Esatz, and some of the same people who made Legend of Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So I'm sure there might be some crossover even.
Season, same thing, so jarring. Like I go back and watch the first season, I'm just like, whoa, like they clearly did not have a handle on what they were doing. And then in
you watch
season
Korra,
2,
you get the same thing.
3, it starts to become a little more okay. This makes sense, but I have to say that like what is it? Titmouse, the company that's Titmouse is doing the animation. Wow. Legitimately,
I'm blown away.
Yeah, so good. Like you would not know it's not cell animation. Even in like when they were standing and looking out over like the destruction of what's the name of the region? Tal'Dorei? Like
Amon is like the city.
Amon, but like when they were like they
continent.
had gone to like they had retreated. Yeah, okay. So they're looking out over like the landscape and like the way that like the animation, like their hair like blows in the wind and then it's kind of a little choppy and everything. Like there's like little touches I feel like harken back to early cell animation that like you wouldn't find those like that choppiness in 3D animation, but they're like, that's what sells it, right?
They've managed to take the 3D, like kind of lower the frame rate or something and add some grain. So it feels so seamless and perfect. And
I was so immersed. I was on the edge of my seat.
Brandon Auerman, I think, is like the head animator. I Want to Kiss You on the Mouth, if you're listening to this. Incredible stuff.
I don't.
Absolutely.
I've managed not to get COVID over the course of the last 3 years, so I'm not going to kiss you on the mouth, but I will give you a handy if you're into that.
Can't get COVID that way, tell you what.
Out, right? Mask on, gloves off. Let's do this.
I need a shirt that just says mask on, gloves off.
Oh, no.
If this doesn't sell you on like listening to Catacomb Party, I don't know what will. Okay, predictions.
Bits.
Let's go from the yes. Right. I feel like the realistic. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like least to most for sure. I feel like the answer is the three of us give predictions and the two veterans don't.
I don't feel comfortable giving a prediction at this point.
Right.
Right. You guys do predictions and me and PJ will like conversate a little about where we think they might fit in things that need to be fit in that aren't there or something.
I think it goes Mathar, Leslie, me based on experience, yeah?
I'd say that's accurate, yeah.
If that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of, right.
I'd say
I've
like
read all the
Mathar or
highlights,
Leslie are comparable in different ways. Like Mathar's paid more attention to the story
also
of Critical
that
Role. Even
aura
if they've
of
never
death
watched it. Leslie's
in
watched
that one,
a lot, but never really
in that one moment. That one moment with Vax and the aura of death very clearly highlights a thing. Yeah.
God, yeah.
Anyway, just want to make just putting that there.
So what am I doing? I'm making a prediction about what's going to happen in the next episode.
Overall for this full season, it doesn't need to be the next episode. It's just
what
like
do you think
talking
the
about what
series finale 4 seasons from now is going to be?
How does the campaign end?
Well, as a matter of fact, I've crunched the numbers, and I mean, I legitimately don't know. I guess
we're going to Vasselheim.
This conversation, they're going to Vasselheim, right? Which is a city that is run by religious orders, which is really interesting to Ashley's character, right? What's her name? Pike. Pike. Yeah, bad with names. It's fine. Which is weird for a DM. I guess my prediction would be that they encounter resistance from the religious orders of Vasselheim. Maybe they don't want to help, and that creates a conflict, like an ethical dilemma for Pike, right? Like I'm here and like we should be helping, and like you just want to worry about yourselves, and there are people out there suffering. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of assuming that they're setting up something where like her excitement to go there, I could see that being dashed, right? When she gets there and she's like, these people are more concerned with their like pious, like, you know, preservation of their religious beliefs. So that'll be my prediction.
Okay, cool. Leslie?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to end up in Vasselheim proper, just because the description they received was super vague. So maybe there'll be like a montage of them getting to Vasselheim from wherever they end up. I'm not sure. But there was that super creepy entity at that one place. Yes, the Cloud Top District. Maybe that was from the bite from Silas Briarwood in season 1. Like, maybe that's just an effect from that event happening. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think for me, the thing that I'm looking forward to most, I think I know the Vax detail, so I'm not going to talk about that at all. But I'm very, very curious about where they end up in this exact moment. The tree. I think I'm with you on the tree side of things. I think we aren't done with the council. I think that obviously we're going to go back to Iman. But I question whether or not Iman actually ever rebuilds. And I think that that's like a real, that's like a full season idea, or like maybe even longer than that. But yeah. So I think that's where I'm at. I also think I agree with you, Mathar, on the...
That's a
True.
pretty good prediction.
I think that's solid. And I think
good
I'm with you,
prediction,
Mathar, on like the moral and ethical concerns as they go into a religious stronghold. I think that'll be interesting as far as the plot goes.
Yeah, it's like she expects him to act one way, and then it's like, oh, well, these are my people, right? Like, I think we've already foreshadowed that a little bit, but maybe
with
not.
the previous season a little bit.
Yeah.
She's already not been met with that, but she's had a little bit of that internally, and she overcame it. But I can imagine devout folks having kind of the same thing, and she has to wake them up too.
Like, if I were writing it, I would absolutely put a like religious character, a pious character in the middle of a pious district, and have them all sort of say like, no, like, we're about self-preservation, and have that ethical quandary of like, do I believe what I believe, or are these people fucking it up, or am I just deluded about like what my religion really is?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I don't get any of that.
But I'm a post-Christian, and I'm a survivor of Christianity.
Yeah, I'm really into like post-Christian core.
Yeah, I'm a survivor of organized religion, so that's where my mind goes. All right, should we watch episode 2?
Yes,
one thing I want to leave you
All
with,
right.
Yeah.
in lieu of a prediction, something that hasn't been brought up, the keen of eye may have noticed, but I feel like it was pretty well blended in. But there is definitely something significantly odd about Thordak visually, the red dragon.
Yep.
That
Oh
is
yeah, that's
exactly
right.
what
We
I'm
didn't even
talking
talk
about.
about that.
Yeah.
He got a stone,
Big
in his chest.
As far as your predictions go, fucking tight. As far as your predictions go, I want to say some of them are right, some of them don't even come up, and some of them you would be surprised how wrong they are.
Interesting.
Ooh.
All right, last one back
Welcome.
is a troll dick.
All right, we're back with episode 2, and we've got another summary.
Vox Machina travels to the mysterious ancient city of Vasselheim to search for allies. They're soon forced to turn to a group of seedy bounty hunters called the Slayer's Take. There, they encounter an ancient creature who holds critical information that could help them in their fight against the dragons of the Chroma Conclave.
Excellent. Okay, so I've settled on a thing. I've settled on a structure now that we've done our first episode, because I think it makes sense. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do reactions. Then we're going to do campaign versus show notes. Okay. Then we're going to do other notes that we may have missed, and then predictions. Cool?
Cool.
Dope. We've got structure. We figured it out. Cool. All right, so reactions. What were the initial reactions? What do we think? Where do we want to start? Who wants to start?
I can start here. So this episode was obviously super, super good, as they all will be. But the Sphinx part, the Sphinx was super, super cool. I mean, it was probably the most obvious with the 3D animation being integrated, but I mean, if that's the only thing that I've ever noticed, like, that is incredible in itself.
Yeah, I really liked the episode. I immediately, in my own notation, the moment that we get to the Sphinx, which is like halfway through the episode or so, I immediately went, dweller scene, lol.
Yeah, I was thinking of the dweller scene too.
I had that briefest flash of like, oh yeah, this is very reminiscent of our own kind of experience in a way, but instead of Mathar, you telling us what our faults were, we exposed ourselves and our problems. It was kind of inverted in that way, but I just had this moment and flash of appreciation.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Season 1 of Catacomb Party is the character backstory, the traumatic backstory of the character.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just like to say that I was right.
You were totally right.
I was totally right. I was like ear to ear smiling. I was like, "Oh, I fucking knew it! I knew they would do this shit. So good, such a good trope." I mean, I'm not even mad. I'm very pleased.
Yeah,
I'll say we got our first Scanlan song of the season.
Yeah,
as brief as it was, right at the beginning there.
Followed by the excellent quote, "Before I met you, I would have found this upsetting."
Followed by the excellenter quote, "Good thing these titties were here."
Writing is so good.
Man, as a fan of the show, there's definitely things that they're like condensing. Like the grog fight 100% happens pretty much exactly like that. The Slayer's take scene happens very similarly to that. They're not necessarily happening at the same time, but it's just it's making it so we don't have to like go to Vasselheim, go somewhere else, come back to Vasselheim, go somewhere else, come back to Vasselheim, go somewhere else, letting the story kind of get all the Vasselheim stuff done at once and then moving on. I have to say, like, from someone who like kind of knows where pieces of it are going. God, how do I say this without being spoilery? PJ, there's a certain character that we've seen a few times now that I'm really surprised to see this early. It's a spooky character.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. It makes a lot of sense.
They say the name.
They have, but they haven't specified that that's who that is. Yeah.
Oh, well, sure. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, the Raven Queen.
Just to put it out there, I thought that was kind of obvious with the birds that were in front of her the second time, not the first time.
Yeah. You see her on top of her temple. Yeah. And then we see that logo again whenever they're talking about the matron of ravens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's with the first vestige, right? That they have to go collect the first vestige. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked up on that. Yeah. Didn't know its relevance, but I was like, oh, cool. Like, we might get some like Shadowfell, like Raven Queen stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
As someone who does know a little bit about D&D lore.
Yeah. I am second guessing myself, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple really, really huge points that are completely skipped over. Like their meeting of the Sphinx happens well after they meet the Slayer's take.
Yes,
I'm curious. So moving into campaign notes. I was gonna signpost it. You buttholes! Okay. I love you so dearly. Did you have any episode reactions?
Well, it's hard to have reactions that are separate
from
campaign notes. Yeah.
But it's also that's why we're going first and then you're going second. Exactly. So maybe we just say campaign and show reactions for you.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, we'll do that.
So the show and the story, like I feel like this episode, even more than the first one, it's pretty obvious they're tackling a lot more of the campaign this season than they did the first season, and to make that make sense and to make that work, there are things that have to get cut and shifted around, but I feel like they're crafting a beautiful story anyway out of it. And I'm in no way upset about it, but like there are always going to be those things that are getting passed over that I'm sure they similarly in the writer's room had a tough time deciding.
You got to make cuts, right? That's the editorial process. It's like you got to decide, like, okay, if I leave this in, it leaves less time for this thing, right? Like I have 20-ish minutes to tell this story, and like which of these things needs the most amount of time to really like which of these things is going to drive the story forward. That must be such a difficult decision when you lived that story and you wrote it all out, and you're like, man, there's so much good shit we're leaving on the cutting room floor. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why I've loved the namesake of like the Legend of Vox Machina. So like this is the highlights in its own right.
Yes.
Like this is it's not correcting anything that's happened before so far at the very least in season 1. I can speak to that with a decent amount of accuracy. Like it's not trying to retcon anything for the most part, but it feels reminiscent of it. So that's why I really appreciate this entire storytelling aspect. But
yeah, I was literally going to say the exact same thing.
Okay. All right.
I'll say, like, looking at it right now, episode 1 tackles all of episode 40 and 41. So that's 2 full 4-hour campaign things. And then 42 and 43 are what we just saw, but with things from 49 and some stuff from like 51 and 52. So like,
Nice.
Interesting.
yeah, they're pulling things together.
It's cool that people
in
have
really
figured
cool
that
ways.
out, right? That they've,
Yeah.
or is that like something that the company released?
I was just looking at it. I was like, all right, from the names of the episodes, I kind of know like there's an episode that's very
Roughly.
distinctly named When They Meet the Sphinx.
Yeah.
There's one where like I know that's the episode where Grog has his sand pit fight, because that happens at a different time. The Sphinx happens at a different time. So
Mhm.
it's really fun to look at that. And so yes, people have figured it out. I'm people just now on my phone. It's fine.
I loved in the fight with the monk of the Stormlord. I'm assuming it's a monk. It seems like it open fists. It very much felt that way. I loved it. I'm also just a sucker for monks in media. It doesn't happen often enough. That's why I play a monk in this
Also a
campaign, is because I
jacked
don't
monk.
think they're highlighted. Yeah,
A jacked
just
monk.
muscled
Yeah.
out. F is not jacked by any stretch of the imagination, but I love the depiction here of the monk.
Yeah.
I assumed that was what it was. Yeah, I was blind as well, and so he was
I don't know if
able
it's
to
a-
react. And,
I know it's a fighting style in like Pathfinder. I can't remember if it's one in D&D. I think it might be a homebrew thing that Nat brought over from Pathfinder, but like blind fighting is an entire fighting style of monks.
pretty sure it is. Yeah,
Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly.
of course. This is also an Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast.
I've got to say, it's so easy almost at this point to take it for completely granted, because it's just so prevalent in every single episode, season 1 and season 2. But because of like the amount of hours with these characters and just the level of skill of all of the cast members, like there were a few moments in here where the voice acting and voice direction was just incredible, and especially with the 2 guest characters. So Will Friedle and Mary Elizabeth something. I'll have to look that up. But so Zara and Cash. It is rare that you get like guest characters with that little amount of screen time, and you're like, I get what you're about. You're a fully realized character. Holy shit! Like, it's not just passing. Like they come in and they make like a fucking
Scene of
like,
it.
They leave an impression in such a cool way. And whenever you have that much talent, just in your contacts list on your phone, you know, like.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I was like,
flinch a little
damn,
bit.
it feels different, you know, like I love animated shows, but there's usually characters like that'll be kind of thrown away, and no, not here. So like it's cool to just have everything be so in depth and fully realized. And I mean, amazing performances by like top industry people in these side parts just kind of fills out the world in such a cool way.
Yeah, Leslie made the point too in the first episode of like love a tiefling, and I fucking love a good tiefling that pours a drink with her tail. You know, it was hot. We all know it was hot. We all know.
Me and Leslie have talked about this a lot, and it's like every D&D campaign needs a hot bisexual tiefling. Every single one. Caduceus was totally in that episode. Did anybody? Well,
Absolutely.
Was it the guard
in the
might-
background?
No. So Caduceus is Caduceus is a cleric of the Wild Mother in campaign 2.
Oh, you're right.
And whenever they say the Wild Mother, in the background, real small, there's a real tall pink furbolg with like, or pink-haired furbolg with like the light blue.
Oh, interesting.
Skin.
Caduceus
and, like,
is
the green
a player
robes.
character.
Yeah,
it's
Caduceus is
Talison's
Talison's character from campaign 2.
Wow.
And I swear to God, he's in that episode.
Okay, so did anyone else think that the guard at the gate looked and sounded a lot like Matt Mercer?
It is Matt.
Yeah,
That was
they
100%
put Matt
Matt.
Mercer in
Yeah.
every episode if you know where to look.
Yeah, that was like, again, I love the first note that I had was every Mercer moment is a gift.
Every
It's just
Mercer
like,
moment's a
it's
gift,
always
yeah.
a random NPC. It's like always a fun thing that like shouldn't be that fun, but it is because it's Matt again, and it's just this reminder again that's his world that we're all kind of getting to absorb, which is great.
Also, Matt played 3 total characters in that episode, I believe, because Matt played the guard. Matt is the voice of Craven Edge, the sword.
Yep.
And my favorite Matt Mercer NPC, besides Gilmore from campaign 1, Victor. at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
the black powder salesman.
Yeah, the black powder salesman. Yeah, I knew it.
So
I was
glad
like,
to see.
it's so good.
So glad to see Matt got to keep that one. 'Cause I love it.
It reeked of sort of the like my cabbages guy from Avatar.
So that's a character that was like a throwaway. Yeah, we love Avatar here, everybody. Also very King Boomy. Very King Boomy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the
King
same
Boomy,
animators coming over from one to the other. That Victor character, I'm pretty sure was supposed to be like a throwaway character that Matt just made something kooky once, thinking he'd never have to do that again. And they just keep going back in the campaign to make Matt do the fucking voice again. It's great.
I love it.
Amazing.
Please.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yes.
I'm so lonely.
Yep. We actually don't fuck with you enough. That's the reality.
Yeah. Ever since you
true.
sealed all the doors, I was like, well, what's the point?
outside of like constantly being threatened by Godot eating our brains, like that was kind of
Yeah. Should we just do this? Should we do some short pour episodes for every single Tales of Kana episode?
I mean, I feel like we've talked about doing talks, right? Like that's been the whole thing, but like occasionally we can do it otherwise. Yeah. I loved the flash to the calamity.
Same.
I know that Mathar, I talked to you about this one bit about the calamity that connects directly with the campaign and with that character from the campaign episode, and that is in the next episode.
But yes, you are right. There is a very distinct.
There is a connection to the calamity here
coming up, and I assume this next episode.
If you haven't watched Calamity, you got it.
I love that Bidet made it. I like that they will cut a lot
bidet?
of they'll cut a shit ton of like seemingly important plot points to make sure the jokes that they thought were really funny at the table make it in the show. And I love that bits take precedence.
Well,
Leslie's all like, fuck you and your bits.
maybe this is looking at it a little bit cynically. Or maybe it's fan service, whatever it might. But a lot of what they're keeping in are the things that they keep in perpetuity, even beyond the campaign that they come from.
100%. They say bidet in campaign 3.
Hello Bees from campaign 2 still shows up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. If it's an Arsqueef emote, it's making it into.
I have no context on that, and I thought it was funny.
Arsqueef is a lovely content creator who makes all of their emotes.
Got it.
And yes, their name they've been banned from Twitch a few times because of their name, and always come back with something similar.
Just close enough. I loved the Grog butterfly meme. It was so beautifully obvious as he's like letting go of the butterfly and staring at it in the exact same format. And I was like, you just stole that meme forever. Yeah, good work. So sorry to the original artist.
I know, right? Man, in the same situation that we've been talking about where like they had to condense so much, and there's certainly things cut, and as like a fan of the campaign, I would love it if this was just going to go 10 seasons and they could give us everything. Understanding that they can't, I'm so impressed with the way how they're putting it together. Like
they did
say impressed.
The Chroma Conclave is 2 seasons. Like it's not going to be one. So like if
even
we're nowhere
with 2
near
seasons, I'm like, damn, that's going to be hard to pull off.
Because it's like 80 episodes, 70 episodes. It's like crazy, right?
I think it's 40. 40
40?
episodes.
Okay, well, still,
I mean,
40.
It's
that's
like from episode
160
40
hours.
to like episode 80 something. Yeah.
I mean, you say it's going to be hard to pull off, but let's just be real. Like things that happen in a campaign of like a tabletop role playing campaign, like there's an excruciating amount of detail that you get to explore. That's the fun of it, right? Is like you get the level of detail you don't get in popular media. The beats that it seems like they're putting into the story so far are what you'd write from scratch if you were writing a story like this, right? You would pick those. It's like, oh, we don't have time to go into all
the
of
highlights.
Like, exactly. It's like we're writing, it's not like it's too short for a TV series. It's just like, this is what you would get for a TV series. And if you turned that into a campaign, you'd get all of the stuff, embedded in between, the nuance and the culture and yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I almost feel like we're getting more of that in depthness and like lore than you would in a normal TV series because it's already written.
It's there.
So it's like you can shove it in a background image, and
this is a series you
it's
have to watch multiple times, because if you have a discerning eye, you'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't notice that. Like, it's all tethered together. Normally, when you're writing a series like this, it's like you do gloss over all of those, details.
I mean, there has to be so much thought that goes into every single shot, because every single one is packed full of little lore bits and things like that.
Yeah, like every moment that Grog's sword is active, you can see the red on the end turned on versus off. Like, even when he's approaching combat, the redstone was on versus every other scene it was off.
I saw
the
that. I didn't know its
significance. I think it is.
Even
I don't fully know, but I'm pretty sure.
If you know the campaign, and I even mentioned this moment to PJ vaguely earlier, there is a part in this episode where Grog walks out from eating lunch, the sword speaks, and then he farts a little. He goes, ooh. And I'm like, oh, are we about to get that scene already? And but like it feels purposeful to do that little fart joke, because like this is a crude show, but I don't feel like it's the kind of show that like does a throwaway fart joke.
Right.
But to those of us who know, we know what they were referencing,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know. Look grossed out. You should.
So, what was everyone's favorite vignette from this sequence? Because I feel like Scanlan's just hurt the most. Like, no one cares about you, so why should I? Like, the Sphinx didn't even waste time giving him a sad turnaround. Like, that shit hurt.
Yeah,
especially
deeply.
I know Leslie knows more about Scanlan than someone who like hasn't watched the campaign. Knowing what, as me and PJ and also Leslie knows about Scanlan's story arc, that shit hurt.
I mean, Scanlan, I think, hurts regardless. This idea of being ignored because, I mean, like, you're the annoying piece of shit in the friend group, or like, for whatever reason, you are the punching bag. I am the punching bag of my friend group. I'm the Scanlan of my friends, even though
you can't sing.
I definitely can't sing. We're not talking about that. But
so you're like,
you see my point?
You're like
fucking
sub-Scanlan.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I sat in a room. We've got patrons, and it's like they latch into the idea of making fun of me, and I'm like, how did I end up being the punching bag for all of you? Like, I don't get it. Like, what did I do? How did I set
we all
myself
pick
up
on you
for
and
this?
Kana too.
Right, exactly. Like, I don't. How is that?
Which, by the
default?
way,
I don't understand.
You asked for, so I just want to.
F does have that desire to be punched, so I get it. Yeah. But no, it's just very interesting. So I immediately related to Scanlan's moment where it's like, yep, no one gives a shit, and it's like everyone is constantly giving so much of a shit, but it's like you don't. Yeah. And I know where Scanlan goes as well, so I'm with you. But I think even without that one hurts the worst, because it's that lack of lack of feedback, which can be the.
I know, that right. And that, like, you don't have to tell me, I already know I'm annoying, and they're just like, okay, that's so fucking rough. Yeah, and oh my god, besides Scanlan, which I think we can all like objectively agree, was the hardest. Keyleth gets me a lot, because like all of the other ones, she's just saying things that the characters already know, and so does Keyleth, but like Keyleth hasn't faced that about herself yet, and it will get there in the show. But like, she's the only one that's gonna live more than a normal life, basically, besides the gnomes who are gonna live like a few hundred years, and she's gonna live a few thousand.
Okay, I want to move to predictions real quick. So that kicks it off with Mathar, and then Leslie, and then myself. Unless, PJ, do you have anything else you want to chime in?
So one thing I wanted to talk about and touch on, something I've noticed about this season versus first season, it's so much more serious.
Oh yeah,
for sure. The comedy is really understated.
Especially whenever you look at the first two episodes of season 1 versus the first 2 episodes of this, like, holy shit.
Can I just say, though, that like the animation, not just the animation, but the cinematography, right? Behind, like, there are people directing this show, right? There are people setting up these shots, and that shot with it's the Sphinx, but I don't know what the like scene was called or whatever. You mentioned it by name.
Oh, the Slayer's Take Sphinx scene.
Yeah. So we were just talking about all those flashbacks. Like, I found that so profoundly effective.
It was so
like, it
incredibly well
was just incredibly, like, the framing, every single frame was a painting. Like, it was truly, truly so stunning to me. And I've heard people talk shit on this show from the perspective that, like, yeah, it's not really breaking new ground. Okay, fair. It's really fucking good though. Like,
it's a masterclass in execution.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it may not break new ground. It doesn't need to. Has anything broken new ground since Homer's Odyssey? Maybe not, right? We're still, right. The hero's journey is pervasive in all of our media, right? Like, it doesn't need to break new ground. It just needs to do it really fucking good. And it's so good.
That's like something I noticed in the first episode too, and I just thought it was dialed up to 10, especially in that Sphinx scene in this one. And the way I would cut back to Grog's fight is very, very intentional and kinetic, like camera work.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we're getting more and more into the age of camera work being considered in animation with shows like Arcane. Or
shot placement.
So you get really, really intense cinematography within your animation. But this is some high level cinematography. Like, it just the way how the shots are built.
When they were spinning around the what is called an arcing shot, where like you're centered on a point and the camera is arcing around it, and every time they go past one of the columns, another player disappears. Right, like they're vanishing into their like memories. Oh, it's so good.
And the use of space within that to drive home the points. Like whenever Osisa tells Keyleth, like, or are you just afraid they're not going to live long enough to see you achieve it? And she falls towards them and then back out. Like, so she gets like, oh my God, just the use of space and gravity and movement and all of that. I mean, even back in episode 1, whenever Thordak sends that beam and it takes a second to zoom in on the face of the soldiers as they're about to get hit. Such a simple shot you'd expect from a movie, but I don't see stuff like that in animation that much.
Right.
And
outside of the Legend of Korra and Avatar The Last Airbender.
Exactly.
Right?
It's just, yes. Thank you for sponsoring this, Nickelodeon and Avatar The Last Airbender.
Okay. Quick predictions. Yeah. Mathar, do you have a prediction?
Okay, predictions. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
Back to my notes.
I'm out on this one because I actually now know the core beat of the next beat, so I'm out on this round of predictions. So it's just you two.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I was trying to think of a prediction that I thought, like, I had a strong inclination to say what I said last time about the city essentially saying, like, we're good out here, right? From here, I mean, I saw the hallmarks of the classic, 7 pieces of a Horcrux. You got the classic, like, you got to go collect all the vestiges, the magic items, and bring them back together. I guess my one prediction is that this might be where, I mean, somebody's already said that, like, the season, like the Chroma Conclave will take 2 seasons. So I'm guessing it's not going to be like a season per quest, but like my prediction is like the episodes or in pairs perhaps will start to break into like side quests, right? Where it's like, okay, we're on this mission and we're doing this thing and it's going to be wrapped up in the course of an episode or maybe 2, right? And then we come back, and then if they need those pieces to defeat the Chroma Conclave and they don't want that to stretch out over the entirety of the series, then I see it starting to break into kind of a monster of the week or like a quest of the week thing, right? That I could see it going that way, and so I'd be interested to see if the format shifts slightly in that direction to cover the different vestiges, their quest to retrieve the different vestiges and so on and so forth.
As stated, I know exactly the next episode for the most part. Unfortunately, this is one of those highlights that I'm just very aware of, so I'm out. Leslie, what's yours?
You're not even going to false flag it for us? Come on.
I can't false flag it. I know too much. I do it for PJ all the time in the regular show, but I can't in this case because I would feel so bad because you're about to go into it. And like the immediacy of like you learning what I'm going to like false flag you
so
on
excited.
Feels very bad.
What you got, Leslie?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict what comes next. I'm just kind of taking it all in as it happens at this point. But I assume we'll go to where that Raven Queen was, just because that keeps showing up. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know, honestly.
Actually,
they'll definitely bring up the Raven Queen again, right?
No
like,
doubt.
I feel like in this next episode for sure, there's no way that we're not going to like follow up on that.
I'm really sad that the bear isn't used at all yet. Do something with the bear.
I mean, you're both terribly wrong. Raven Queen never comes back up. The sword never comes back up.
It just all dies.
Okay, end of
the
podcast.
Dragons don't really come back up.
End of podcast. Right. I did want to say before we disembark onto the next episode, there was one bit that I missed in the first episode I want to mention, but the fact that Scanlan hand is a foot and that it's foot and mouth to silence the dragon is fucking amazing. A foot and mouth, like that is. Yeah.
Wait, they have magic
it's
too?
great.
Or fuck.
Wait, they have magic too? All right. Anyway. Last word, Josh.
So basically, none of the stuff that has been building up, they just kind of decide to leave it all, go to a different town, start a bakery called Slayer's Bake. So
Slayer's Bake instead of Slayer's Take. Bold choice. Love it. All right. We'll see you on the other side. So episode 3, huh? This is Mathar's summary to read. So
I assume the summary is just going to be read like, on this week, Legend of Vox Machina.
Yeah, Vox Machina explores the ancient temple to search for the first vestige of divergence. Whatever. It's a legendary weapon. They hope it will aid them against the dragons of the Chroma Conclave. Bullshit. As they overcome a series of dangerous encounters to reach a sunken tomb. One of the team makes a terrible mistake. Yeah, I don't think it was her mistake, okay?
No, it was his mistake.
It was Percy's mistake, for sure.
Yeah. So reactions first. That's our game here.
First thing I want to say, and that's where we're going to end tonight's episode, is what a lot of us had to live with.
For a week. Or 2? I don't know.
Luckily not me, but a lot of people out there. I just went to the next episode. But still, I had to listen to a whole intro. I had to listen to Sam's stupid fucking ad.
So, I think we'll start with the newbie crew. And Mathar, you clearly feel very deeply hurt. I'm sure Leslie does as well with the Ranger Elf connection.
No, I'm just in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, so someone's going to come along with Revivify, I know D&D. This is going to be like a spell, brings her back, but
can I just point
out... Are
they
playing it for dramatic effect, or are they playing it for is this actually...
Yeah, I would like to just do... I know this is out of format a little bit, but jump into a little bit of campaign talk to this and what we just saw transpire. Drop to 0 hit points. Matt asks, does that bring you to 0 hit points? And tells her there are no death saves. You're dead. And Pike goes to Revivify, and it is blocked. It is permadead. Dead. No changing it. No fixing it.
Yeah, what you saw Pike do was Revivify.
That was Pike trying Revivify.
Cool. So...
So I feel worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Raven's feathers. I know that they could potentially go to in this campaign it's called the Matron of Ravens. She could, the Shadowfells where you shepherd people across to the great beyond. So I feel like there's got to be maybe some way to get her back, and maybe that becomes a new quest thread that they pursue. But I gotta know, was it that's how it happened in the session? Truly, what? Okay, was there signposting that they shouldn't open the grave, and then Percy did it anyway? Taliesin did it anyway, and then it ended up being a thing that killed her. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that's my reaction. It sucks. I'm done.
So there was so much more bear in this episode. I'm very happy. I don't think that Vex would just straight up be dead. I mean, it's the first part of the season. Surely they wouldn't kill off a character now, right? She's got to come back. I've seen, art, and I kind of know where the story goes, like it for her story arc generally, but I don't know the fine details, of course. But like surely she's not dead right now. Like I don't know how they're gonna bring her back or anything. But like I saw Pike try to do Revivify and it didn't work, which is really sad. So I'm curious how they're gonna bring her back. But I mean, like a character death is like such a season finale thing. I don't think that's final at all. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
I think I agree with you. I totally think I agree with you. I think one of the things, I think this is one of the dangerous things with like TTRPGs in general, right? Is like death needs to have stakes. And I think that's one of the things that from the outset of not knowing a MAC campaign, you would necessarily have the context that like, it's not just that you go to revivify someone and they come back. It's not quite that easy most of the time. And it gradually increases the difficulty of these roles as you bring these people back because it's harder and harder to reclaim them from death. And sometimes that involves rituals and other things that like really like deeply mess with the characters to bring back someone from the other side.
On Revivify and Resurrection are
the best
strict, and
because
I adhere to them so hard. They're so much better
because
Well,
exactly.
What's
because
the difference?
So Revivify inherently doesn't work. You have to roll for it. Very strict about components, but every time a character is revivified, the DC the next time goes up. And you have to perform a ritual. 3 people have to be able to succeed
skill checks
to convince their soul to come back to their body in a ritual.
And it has to be something that the character believes that they can pull out of them. So it's like let's say L and L die in our campaign. So I as F am terrible at charisma, but I'm a pretty good intuition. So I would like drag on this idea of like knowing that there's something deep down that they want to solve, and there's some sort of core component to them that they want to pull that on. And I'd pull at that soul thread basically to try to get them back to life. Then I'd have to nail a check. And if I missed it, that's a fail effectively in like a second round of death saves that friends are doing for that person.
Yeah.
So good.
So death is never for sure reversible. And also, without diving too much into where this goes in the campaign, whether or not this death is reversible, I won't say, but I will say that it inherently changes dynamics from this point going forward, and through to the very end of the campaign affects deeply the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a question for me to PJ and Josh, because I haven't watched the campaign as well. Is this something that comes from the comic books or Kith and Kin, or was this something that they were doing flashbacks to, or how was this exposed?
There's no flashbacks. They do describe a decent amount of their childhood. I have Kith and Kin. I haven't read it, but I assume it probably goes over a lot of this.
I do not have Kith and Kin. There are some flashback scenes that happen. They don't happen here, as far as I can recall.
I think they happen whenever they go to.
Just curious, yeah.
I forget the name. The Elven city.
Something to be brought up, because it shows its face a few different times, and Mathar brought it up. With the Matron of Ravens is named differently here versus like the actual D&D lore. That's pretty true across most of the show. Biggest example is Scanlan's hand was always Big B's hand.
Yeah, because it's not part of the OGL, right? It's not part of the SRD.
Yeah.
It's not part of the SRD, meaning it's not covered by the OGL.
Which let's take a moment right now.
No.
So
that
a
is
lot
an
of
entire
the very
podcast.
specific names and names of spells and things like that are changed. Pike being of the Everlight as opposed to of Saren Ray is another big glaring
which is crazy
example.
interesting, because that's not even D&D, that's Pathfinder.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leslie's first ever TTRPG character was a gnome with platinum blonde hair who worshipped the Everlight, aka Saren. She had no clue about Critical Role. She was a rogue, not a cleric, but
rogue.
Yeah.
Oh, a rogue? That's like interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Yeah. No. That's fine.
I would also like to point out that
we're not critically analyzing it. Yeah. Sure.
I would also like to point out she was a rogue with swords, white hair, violet eyes, named Rayla La Rayla. And then Rayla from the Dragon Prince is just the exact same fucking character, but an elf. Basically, you can sue two different Avatar-related companies.
It's on the record.
It's on the record.
Yeah, right. I do want to make mention of the belt that is finally equipped here, and this is Grog's Kratos beard belt. Very clearly, suddenly the God of War, very reminiscent of Kratos. It killed me when that happened. I was immediately like, where's Atreus? Like, where is he?
Something really interesting. That belt doesn't just give you a beard per the lore. I don't know if
I'm sure it's like plus one strength.
But yeah, it's like a belt of dwarven kind, and it boosts your strength, but not much. And his strength was already past the limit that it can boost. So if someone else equips that, which in the campaign does happen at a certain point, they would legitimately get a strength boost, but he just gets a beard.
He just gets
a
beard.
Dwarven kind. He gets a dwarf beard.
Nice.
The reveal for that in the campaign was hilarious because it doesn't just happen. Every morning, he gets to roll. Like after every long rest, he rolls for beard growth.
Yeah. It's a very important thing to him for a long time. Like that is Grog's whole arc for a second. Which
I loved it in this, but I understand how that can be very cool. Yeah,
as a joke,
and it goes poorly.
Oh man, it's so good.
As far as reactions outside of campaign stuff goes, I know I've talked about it literally on every single episode, but goddamn, I love the animation and cinematography in this show. To the point where I saw something I legitimately can't think of a more specific, like a very specific time. I'm sure it's happened many times, but the conversation between Vex and Vax in the tree, where they were doing the shifting of focus in a very like classic camera work kind of a way, where it's her and he's blurry, and then the camera shifts to him, but it's not a cut. It's just the focus
like a rack
shifts,
focus,
like a rack focus, and then it shifts back. Like such a very like specific like camera work technique to see in animation was really fun.
Oh, it's so cool.
It makes it feel to me like adult animation is not new. Adult animation has been around for a while. It makes it feel more adult.
It's very cinematic.
It's shot like a movie or a TV show made for grown-ups, just happens to be animated. And I love that it's kind of elevating that, like, hey, animation isn't for kids. It's a medium and it's beautiful. You know?
And again, like when they went into the temple, it's dark, all grainy, right? They added all that extra film grain for like a low light setting. Yeah, it's just like those little touches immerse you in the cinematography of it. Yeah.
You want to talk about craft. The craft of when the light leaves Vex's eyes is soul crushing.
And it hurt.
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
In regular media, you never get that like feeling of real death, like of like that kind of tangible feeling. And for whatever reason, that idea of the reflection leaving her eye was just so much that like my brain went, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I just had like a minor panic. Yeah. It was great.
Even knowing exactly what's coming. The combination of how well everything was portrayed, that little detail, like all of it, it still hit me like a fucking dump truck.
Yeah. Freight train. Yeah. This episode should have been titled Good Bear. I don't know why it wasn't. Good Bear. Many times, if I were titling the episodes, this episode would be titled Good Bear. Fucking Good Bear.
Yeah. Good Bear.
As is said.
Which is also, a little...
Josh, do you remember if their meeting with the Slayer's Take happens before the Briarwood Arch?
Well, okay, so there is out of like pre-stream stuff with the Slayer's Take before the Briarwood's arc, which is kind of like in this, where it's like Vex and Vax are like, oh, we have a history, but no, us as viewers, our first introduction, I believe, is after the Briarwoods. It is
There-
at this point.
There's a very direct connection. I don't know if it'll show up in the show, so I'm trying to skirt around it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Curious.
It involves a fight, a specific entity.
La 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 la.
How about the
la,
three? You
la,
just throw your
la,
headphones
la,
off real
la.
quick.
No, a man with very particular hands.
Yeah. Okay.
That happened first in Whitestone and then in Vasselheim. I thought that was the whole reason.
A man with very particular hands.
Well,
Okay. Are we talking about Ripley?
no,
Oh, okay.
we are talking about what's his fucking name?
I've returned.
We probably can't say enough to get on the same
Okay.
page here in this situation. Yeah.
It's where you just text each other silently.
I can't
Yeah.
just
we'll
text
text
you.
me. All right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That said, I really enjoyed this episode front to back. I mean, for so many fucking reasons. The combat is excellent. I love like the fish people, the violent fish offenders in this
Yeah.
is great. The jumping in the moment, the sort of buddy. I always get like an interesting and fun buddy cop vibe from Grog and
Pike.
oh my god, Pike. It's so good every time.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love it. And I one of the things that I'm very cognizant of going into this is sort of like an overarching campaign thing is that Ashley had to miss like a lot of different sessions. And so I'm sure that one of the things that the show is improving upon is Pike's immediate prevalence in the narrative.
Yeah.
Versus when she was missing. Of course, like some of the things in the first season, it's very clear that's when she was gone. But I'm interested to see what those changes look like,
Well,
assuming that she's there more often than she's not.
one thing that I find really
But-
cool is sometimes Matt would be like, and Pike says, "Oh, I'm going to stay behind and help the refugees," or whatever. But a lot of the times Pike would come with, even if Ashley wasn't there, and then just not
Right.
really do anything until Matt needed someone to move along the plot.
Yeah.
And then it'd be
Similar
like,
to
oh,
Yasha,
and Pike
right.
does this. So it's cool that Pike still gets
It's a
to
good
have
trick.
those moments, you know? But while also being a
So
fully fledged
Petunia-
character in
I'm
the
just
meantime. But yeah, I think that Pike's character is the biggest improvement from the campaign because Ashley Johnson's incredible, but like Ashley
Getting
Johnson,
more,
I think
almost?
Fern in campaign 3, which is currently a thing, is her first fully realized character. Yasha's incredible, but she's still on blind spot. She's still gone all the time. And Pike, same thing.
Right.
So she always feels like she's less developed than the other characters because she just has less hours. Whereas in this, like Pike is fully there and fully realized.
Mhm.
and
She feels
developed.
meaty. She feels as meaty as the rest of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it because Ashley Johnson's an incredible performer and she deserves to have that like same spotlight that everyone else gets. So
Yeah.
Totally.
PJ, I got your message. There's no way we can talk about that without spoilers. It's too detailed and in depth.
It's too detailed in depth.
and
I
specific.
guess my point is I'm curious if it'll even show up.
In campaign 1 or in season 1, whenever they're all around the campfire, there is a reference to the first meeting having already happened. They're all
Okay.
talking about the craziest things they've killed. And Vax's is that. And he says,
Yep.
"I'll be back for you." And then the knife hits his head. And then he like falls out the window and he's like, "Oh, I'm sure."
Yeah, right.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
He'll be back.
Yeah, what do you guys want to talk about? What does the other half of the podcast want to say?
I mean, it was a cool show, but I mean, I have a rule. If you kill a character I like, I'm done. So
Well, it's crazy. Game of Thrones ended at like episode
1.
1?
oh, I didn't like that.
9? Oh, yeah.
No,
Like that at
episode
all.
1. I was really attached to that one unnamed character who's like just joined the
He
Night's
got
Watch.
his
He's
head
like,
chopped
"What
off."
we doing out here?" And the White Walkers show up.
Bran
I
when
made
he
it.
got pushed out the
I made
window?
it 5
Like,
Not
minutes
Night's
before
Watch
his death.
number 3.
Night's Watch number 3, and I was done.
So what did I think? I genuinely don't know where this is headed now, because it sort of feels like, in light of this happening, if it sticks, which I don't think it will, I feel like it happens so abruptly. It's like they start really playing up like their history, and like the whole episode is about the two of them, really. Like the majority of the episode revolves around Vex and Vax, and it's enough to drive, like to buy into, like believe Vex's drive to save his sister, right? Or Vax's drive to save Vex. Right. God, it's gonna be hard. I feel like it's enough to like buy into, like, okay, cool, he's not going to want to do anything else until he figures out like how to get her back. And so I feel like that's the kind of like thing that derails a campaign a little bit, you know, or an adventure arc. Like you're like, shit, well, fuck the vestiges, I got to get my sister back. So that's going to become a thing. Maybe it's in the background for a little while they're working on this, but I don't know. I have to say, I was right. In total side quest territory, right? Like immediately they're like, okay, cool. Here's a little one shot. We're off over here on the side, doing this tomb adventure, and it turned into like a big thing. But now I'm like, I thought it would be like, oh, we had a thing and we got the vestige and we came back, and what's the next one? And what the fuck do you want us to do? It's like, this is a whole thing that needs to be dealt with. If she's
and you've got
not,
the Slayer's Take folks, you have to, like,
they're in there too
on the side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if she's not revivable, if like they can't get her back, then there's like a funeral and mourning, and you know, I don't know. I know like my headcanon for like who plays what character when is so much that like I thought that her tiefling character was campaign 2, but maybe it was campaign 1, and I just like was confused about that. I don't know. So I'm lost, I guess. All that to say, like, I'm a little bit like, like this is like the point where it's like I can't really predict what's going to happen next. So,
Leslie,
it's feelings, just big feelings.
Feelings. I get that. Cash and the tiefling, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand. I didn't have a sense of place. Like, they found a secret tomb in the room where they fought the fish folk, and then they went somewhere to like a room of tombs, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm mainly curious about where the other two characters are going. Zara and because like they went through, or they casted detect magic and noticed the archway, but they didn't see the other one where our characters went through. So I'm curious to where the other door is leading them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I really like Wilfred L. So yes, we should. That is Ron Stoppable, ma'am. Always
true.
At least we didn't get down there to like Mario underwater level music, you know, because I would have turned it off right then and there.
Yeah.
I did love the little bit of reminiscent of Wipeout music.
Oh, the surf rock, 100%.
I made a note of that too. Like the anachronisms in this show are so well timed. It's great.
Even like, I love that they're allowing references to things that like wouldn't be in the world, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Calling Keyleth that, or like so in the campaign, whenever Matt says Pervon Soul, everybody's like Pervon, and it's the first time he's ever said it out loud, and he's like, oh no, and they just dogpile on Matt for a while for making a stupid name. So to have that at the campfire still was so incredible.
Pervon.
There's been a lot of times when Matt's been like, I'm just gonna name all of my NPCs Steve from now on, because no matter what.
I remember that from when it gets brought up in Calamity with Brennan, and they're like, he's like, I didn't fucking name him, all right? Like, give me a break.
Exactly.
Oh, weren't we supposed to do this with Calamity? We didn't do this with Calamity.
That's a different idea, but I'm down for the general idea of doing like a 2-hour we were talking about like breaking it up into halves and like
I'd love to
talking
talk
about
about
it and like
Calamity.
hanging out and watching it.
Yeah, I stopped watching when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch it. As a group.
This came up first, so this is first. But yes, I love the idea.
But I want
I know.
Now
me too.
we get to
I
get
love
into
Brennan.
big predictions because
Big predictions.
that's the last episode
Next
we're watching
week.
today. So
It's
what's the
true.
predictions for
It's the
the
last
season, for the show, for the series?
Where do you go from here?
Where do we go from here?
I'm feeling it.
Thank you.
Big predictions. Okay. Well, I think that Thordak will be a problem, probably. I'm curious to how they're going to split up the dragon fights because there's 4 of them, including the big bad. So, like, I'm curious if they're going to, like, defeat 2 this season and then next season defeat the other 2 because I know that this Chroma Conclave arc goes for 2 seasons. Or maybe they'll defeat 3 this season and then save the big one for the next season. I'm not sure. I know that there's going to be I know that they're going B. I know that they're going to collect a bunch of vestiges. Like, I play Legend of Zelda. I love the idea of going to different temples and collecting items to create one bigger thing. You know, that's my whole thing. So,
right.
And how many episodes are there in this season?
12.
12?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If I could be so bold, then
You could be.
the exact number of vestiges I don't think is known lore-wise, and their goal isn't to get all of them.
They just need enough to be able to fight like
They're boons.
dragons.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of in Leslie's camp in terms of predictions. Like, I do think that if the climax is going to build, so okay, here's what I would do, right? If I was going to structure this as like acts, like I would say at the end of the season, by the end of the season, they've struck a significant blow against Thordak, and I think next season is like Thordak's rage, Thordak's revenge. Like, I feel like they don't take Thordak down. Maybe they kill, as opposed to 1, maybe all 3 of the dragons, and then they have to contend. They think Thordak is gone, and then next season is like, no, motherfucker's back. Or whatever number of dragons it is that they fight, they think that they've dealt with the problem or struck a big enough blow that they have a sense of like needing to celebrate, like that warrants, celebrating. And then that's going to be dashed either in the cliffhanger or season 1 or episode 1 of season 3 is going to be like, well, you thought, but so I mean, that's kind of what I would do, but
Yeah. I can understand that. I love that. I feel like part of the issue with me like issuing a prediction right now isn't even like my understanding of the meta narrative. It is that this is such a strong cliffhanger that's like the next thing is to resolve the cliffhanger. Like, it has to be resolving this moment, and nothing else takes precedent over resolving the death of Vexalia. So it's just hyper fixated on
same.
that thing.
That's why it's hard.
So,
it's like, I
yeah.
mean, that's the thing that they're going to do
Right.
unless they truly think she's gone. And then it's like a thing where like we put her in the ground and we mourn and we say our goodbyes, and then she's gone for a couple episodes, and then you're like, oh wait, we can get her back. Just got to go to the Shadowfell or something.
Right.
I could see Matt playing it like that because I haven't
It feels
watched
like
a
the
ton
first
of
time
crit
meme.
roll, but it definitely seems like his style to let things just kind of play out. The long game is definitely his. I mean, not to spoil campaign 3, but there was a death that I think didn't get resolved for a couple sessions, and I feel like that is just his style, So
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind,
Seems like a blood hunter almost. Yeah, like some kind of blood mage, maybe even.
yeah,
I don't recall.
I think
from the
Blood
campaign,
Hunter
but
was
it
season
feels-
2.
is she
Hot.
hot?
She's
Yeah,
hot.
she's hot.
She's
Yeah,
hot.
she's hot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Blood Mage from Wild Mount is the way that it's playing.
Blood Hunter or Blood Mage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. By the way, to anybody listening to this particular short pour of Words and Whiskey, is that all correct? And,
Yes. Yep.
For anybody listening to this particular short pour of Words and Whiskey, Kross and PJ have let me know that they want you to send them all Vex, Zara ship art. So all Zarelia ship art that you have, they want you to send that to
Email
them
it directly.
Email it directly.
Don't
to,
have enough storage on our email for that.
But
if you drew them smooching, send it their way. You know,
But just the nastiest stuff.
Just
like,
the
don't
nasty-
bother with all the like.
If you can't post it anywhere else, send it our way.
yeah,
it's not even just NSFW. Like, it has to be OSFWW.
NSFL, right?
Only
like,
safe for words and whiskey.
Oh.
You couldn't post this shit anywhere else. I
Oh
mean, this
my
might be a
God.
crime.
yes.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, this is a crime for sure.
Damn. Fandom
dope.
runs deep.
All right. Well, I want to give space for final thoughts. If we missed anything from all of y'all. Anything else?
I love the show. I really
On
do.
the show.
It's a really
Love
good
chatting
show.
with you guys about this show.
I know this
It
last
is starting
episode
to get more in the space where I know all the major beats, but I can't really predict the progression anymore because of how shifted things are. It still makes sense and it's still perfectly reminiscent of the campaign, but like it's kind of fun for me not knowing exactly how it's going to play out at this point.
It's the hallmarks of a good adaptation, right? Like, that's the thing here is I think one of the things that gets chronically overlooked when talking about the Legend of Vox Machina, even the first season, is this idea of like even taking a book and adapting it to a movie or a TV show. And they've done it so well. And maybe that's because of the medium that it's going between, but it's tough. It's so good.
It's a testament too to having people in the writer's room and people at the production level that
care
are
about the source
invested,
material.
Yeah, that care about the source material, which it doesn't get deeper care than the people making this show. You know, so
It's true.
It's absolutely perfect for adaptation because if you think about the number one complaint that I hear with book adaptations, or concern, I should say, is, 2/3 of this is inner monologue. You know?
Right.
So many great stories that are first person and it's like their thoughts, right? Or the inner, monologue of different characters, different POVs. By the nature of this medium, tabletop role playing, it's all external, right? It's all spoken, like all the details are there and everything is like role play, interactions between the characters. The dialogue is already kind of written. It just needs to be, polished up a little bit.
Cut.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you look at some of the most well-beloved adaptations, recently you've got Arcane, which isn't really an adaptation, but pulling from a specific IP. So far, one episode in, The Last of Us, even looking at, the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones, whenever you have the creator, whoever made it, heavily involved, it turns out a little better. So,
That's true. Intent. It's like you're missing intent.
Yeah.
Critically. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So having
critically
having the people rollingly.
Unintentional.
Intent plays a critical role in this
yes,
adaptation.
intent plays a
my
critical
God.
role in the adaptation process.
Motherfuck. So thank you so much for listening to our show.
I set him up, you knock him out.
Be sure to check out Tales of Kana, where you can hear all of our
Don't do
lovely
it.
voices.
Don't do it.
And all of us goof around. And
Can I give a
tell
quick pitch for like the
wonderful story.
campaign?
Absolutely. Do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes place after the second age of a fantasy world, and the second age was full of technological advancements that did away with the need for any magic. Everyone lost the ability to do magic innately, and then a great calamity called the First Wave happened, and in the centuries following, people begin to learn to do magic again. It starts to wake up in the world and in them. And so we have 4 characters who are grappling with the ability to do strange, arcane things. And they're also faced with corruption, lies, deceit, and perhaps a greater calling. And so they embark from a small conclave, a small city, which is like one of the last vestiges of civilization in this world. And they set out on a journey to find themselves and their missing family members. So tune in because it's really exciting.
Can I point something out real quick?
Good.
Of course. How did you manage to, in your campaign description, use the words calamity, vestige, and conclave?
I mean,
it's top of mind, baby. Top of mind.
It's
relatable.
top of mind,
It's
and
immediate.
also, it's part of the zeitgeist.
Immediate.
It's all there.
for sure.
None of it's new. Shoulders of giants, and so on and so forth.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. We obviously are so excited to have Catacomb Party as a part of the Atomic Pylon Media Network. And it is, truthfully, it is the only other show that is publishing actively at the moment. So it is so cool to have you guys on this other show that we publish. We've got so many others that are going to be coming out very soon across the network over the next couple of months. But it is, man, it's so great. And Catacomb Party is like my personal passion product of where I put most of my time week to week.
Yeah, it's
yes, I've brought everyone into my
as we all do.
cool.
As we all do. We all work so fucking hard on this, and it's just like give it a listen. We love you. We would love it if you gave it a listen. Yeah,
just give it a listen. It's not as long as Critical Role. Episodes are about an hour to an hour and a half on average.
Yeah.
Some of them are 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've
Just
got
do
a
it.
couple of just
do
some
it.
hours. Come on, give it a go.
Just do it.
You can
Come
listen
on.
to the entire length
on.
of what Campaign 1 is in,
just
as mentioned at the top of the episode, 20 hours at most.
Yeah, come on.
Probably
So
less.
You got 20
with
hours.
that,
What are you doing with your life?
next
Come on.
month, I mean, actually not next month, next week on Words and Whiskey Short Pours, we're going to be talking about the next 3 episodes. It's going to be part 2 of season 2. That's kind of the game plan. In addition, a week after this, you're going to have The Thief of Always, which is my favorite book of all time that PJ and I are going to chat about. We haven't done it yet, but it is my favorite book. And
I just
I'm
finished
very
it.
excited
It's very, very good.
to talk about it. So you're all going to get that too as a bonus little treat. Beyond that, you can find all of our links, all of our websites, everything else like that inside of the show notes. You can see links to obviously Catacomb Party, as well as anything else that is on the Atomic Pylon Media Network. And if for whatever reason that doesn't work and you want to track us down, you can find us at Words Whiskey Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and Facebook. If you still use Facebook after the meta purge, as well as you can email us all of that angry mail that we talked about earlier, all that purging hateful mail and thoughts on all these different things, as well as that fan art that we talked about at Words and Whiskey Show at gmail.com. And you can join us at patreon.com/Words and Whiskey to hop into the conversation for this, as well as all the book series that we cover on the main show.
Next
So-
week, I'll be drinking Everclear, and don't forget, open D&D.